Jeremy, I've seen in his eyes over there, he's thinking about that 97-92 Miami Heat Utah Jazz game from last night that set the game back.
No matter how many turnovers you have in the fourth quarter, you love watching young stars in their first big moments. Hey, play through mistakes. Come up big at the end of games. That's why Jazz Heat was so special last night.
Yeah, young stars like Terry Rozier, who's
not him.
11 for his last 62, 4 for his last 32, and everything that Mike Ryan hated about that acquisition has been on display over his 30% shooting over the last bit here. Where do you land, Amin? Because this has been a frustrating, it's been a complicated and difficult week for me as somebody who's trying to be fair, objective, and critical, to have people who I have relationships with, admire, trust, believe are better at their jobs than I am at my job, or that anybody criticizing them is at their job, but also can see in the standings and everything else that the Miami Heat are presiding over punctuation calamity with Jimmy Butler in a way that it cannot be argued that they've handled the end of this well. I don't hear anyone arguing that this is being handled well, but the Heat is under more criticism, I would say, than just about any time I've seen that wasn't Whiteside and Dion Waiters, or, that one season where Alonzo Mourning, his kidney failed, and then all of a sudden Pat Riley's coaching a team that, won 20 games or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you look at decisions and things, situations, people often react to what's happening in the moment. Oh, they suspended him. Oh, you messed that up. You did it wrong. The reality is the thing you should have done is typically something months ago. It's an accumulation of forks in the road, and you take the one you probably shouldn't have taken, and then you arrive at this point where it's like there are no other options left. And so I don't look at Miami suspending him for 7 games as, oh, my God, you guys totally mishandled that. Now, the mishandling happened months ago when you knew he wanted a new contract, when you knew you didn't want to give him a new contract, or the number was very far apart. That's when you start exploring other options so that you don't get to this point right here. By the way, the 7 games thing, I talk about this all the time from a league perspective, from the commissioner perspective. Whenever guys do things, sometimes you hit them with a suspension that's not going to hold up in a court of law. When John Morant was going through his stuff, I said, hit him with like a 40-game suspension out the gate. Let the union appeal it. Let them, okay, it's not a 40, it comes down to 8 or whatever it is. But the idea is you send the message, right? Stern would do this all the time. He would hit him with a punishment that was constitutionally incorrect. It was unconstitutional. He knew it was going to get rescinded or brought back down in arbitration. But the idea is you send the message. We don't do that shit over here. And that's what the Heat did when they hit him with the 7 games. That's ridiculous. That's a 7-game suspension.
Okay, but you say this, and all of it leads to, I don't see, and maybe I have this wrong, I don't see the avenue by which the Miami Heat gets what it wants over Jimmy Butler getting whatever it is that he wants. And so now I ask you guys to do something where you analyze this information. Kendrick Perkins is not an information guy, and I don't know if anyone is making these distinctions. I don't know if anyone cares to make these distinctions as to how they get their information. I haven't heard what Kendrick Perkins is saying here from anybody, but Kendrick Perkins is saying, and this makes sense, Phoenix win now. Phoenix wants to get whatever they can get for right now to put it next to Jimmy Butler. Here's Kendrick Perkins saying, Jimmy Butler is going to head to Phoenix. The contract parameters are set up.
It's about money, right? And from my sources, they're telling me that the Suns have a 2-year, $121 million extension waiting on Jimmy. Okay? I believe it. All right. I mean, I ain't no genius, but that's like 60 a year, okay?
Woo, somebody is drunk over there.
Hold on. Keep it cool, booty. All right, here's the next thing. Okay? It's about relationships. And the relationship is Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant. Ooh. Now, I told you this about 2 weeks ago when we made this bet that not only do Phoenix, yes, the organization, they want him. You know why? Because Kevin Durant wants Jimmy Butler. And if he does get Jimmy Butler, which I believe he will, they're both going to sign contract extensions. KD is going to sign as well.
Booker, Durant, Butler is better than Booker, Durant, Beal. What do you do with that information?
First of all, for the audio audience, what I was laughing at, because you couldn't see the video was Channing Frye, as he's saying, oh, someone's drunk over there. He's tossing a ball of it, like, very nonchalantly. It's almost like he's not paying attention to the conversation. They're like half-assing it. It's my guy, Channing Frye. But that information is exactly where we thought all of this was headed. A, Jimmy Butler wants his money. B, you're in a tough spot. C, who's a team that's desperate enough to do this? D, what does that desperation look like? And then E, it's a superstar saying, I want him here. The cosign is pretty strong. And, when it comes from Kendrick Perkins, people like to clown Perk and make fun of him and his country accent, and he gives hot takes. But when he says information like that, you better listen, because that dude knows people. He talks to people. He works his ass off on the back end in a way that I don't think many people understand or appreciate.
I just haven't heard the information guys say that, and I expect the information guys to have that information. I don't expect Kendrick Perkins to ever have information the information guys aren't reporting.
Dan, that's the thing that you're making a mistake there. You're assuming because they didn't report it, they don't have the information. And as a guy who's done this for a living, that's not always the case. Sometimes you have the information, but it's not corroborated. Sometimes you have the information, but your source is telling you, I can't let you run with this yet. And so it doesn't mean nobody else had it. It just means that Kendrick Perkins doesn't have the restrictions of revealing something like that.
And when you see the Chris Haynes report a couple of days ago that says the Memphis Grizzlies and some other teams have been told not to trade for Jimmy Butler, that's not necessarily to say that if they traded for Jimmy that he wouldn't report and would make a whole mess of everything. But the reason that's happening is he wants to be in Phoenix or another place that will give him that extension. And so the reporting has to be sort of around that.
Kendrick Perkins obviously famously played with Kevin Durant. One of my favorite interview moments was asking Scott Brooks during those finals, OKC against Miami, why do you keep starting Kendrick Perkins? And he gave me how good their record was when Kendrick Perkins started. And I said, imagine how good it would be if he wasn't starting. It would be even better than that. He's got a relationship with Kevin Durant that I do believe people listening to this who care about the transaction need to monitor, because since leaving Golden State, next to nothing has gone right for whatever it is that Kevin Durant wants from this is the ending of his career. Whittingham had an exceptional take in which he said, if we replay the entire career of Kevin Durant entirely over again, this is about as badly as it could have gone in terms of how it is you're going to be remembered by people as one of the greatest scorers of all time. And I would assume that if Phoenix was in such wind now that they took Bradley Beal's contract a while ago, that they would be by far and away, given who their owner is and given who Kevin Durant is, I would assume that they would be the favorite in every situation.
That's the mark. You know where the mark is, and it's them.
That's the stalking horse, right? On everything. But I
look at it as a stalking horse. I look at it as the patsy. That's who we're going for.
I just believe that you found yourself in a fairly remarkable situation after what happened with the Heat and Dame Lillard, where Damian Lillard becomes the first entity to make a mess and not get what he wants, that we go right back to, what do you mean Jimmy Butler dictates all the terms? What do you mean he can tell Memphis, don't trade for me? What do you mean that he gets to dictate to Pat Riley? You're not going to send me even for a month to a city that I don't want to go to. That's crazy. Am I wrong about that? That we've gone right back to showing Damian Lillard again, hey, the only way to do this is to actually maximize the public exertion of your power. But if you publicly exert your power, you will be able to topple even Pat Riley. You think this is where he ends up? You think that Jimmy Butler wants to end up in Phoenix, and therefore Amin Elhassan is saying he's going to end up in Phoenix?
I think there's a high likelihood that if he leaves Miami, Phoenix is going to be the destination.
If he leaves Miami.
Say it. Give me the take. What's the take?
The take is there's a high likelihood if he leaves Miami, he ends up in Phoenix.
You just said the same thing.
I know, but I said it with take voice.
I like Jeremy's
Give
subtle.
me Stephen A. voice.
If
Make
he
me
leaves
believe it.
Miami, if he leaves Miami is an interesting scenario because I guess that's a possibility too. Well, we're just stuck with one another.
Wouldn't it be the most Jimmy Butler thing ever to not get traded and then end up having a phenomenal season that takes the Heat to like the conference finals or the finals?
I just
and
don't
then
think.
says,
I
"You
just
pay
don't
me?"
think the escalations has stopped yet. We've got if you think Jimmy Butler's going to be here in February, you have not paid attention to the escalations that are coming because this is going to keep getting worse.
But Dan, haven't they kind of for a little bit? Like the NBA PA came out with their statement. Jimmy Butler's been relatively quiet. He's posted, some like emo IG stories, but he's also posted himself at the Heat's facility working with coaches. Coaches did not make that road trip. They stayed back to work with Jimmy, which I found really surprising.
A couple of coaches, not
no, but coaches that travel.
Yeah,
LeBron travels.
Guys who are typically on the bench and are part of the traveling party were there, including some other people.
Wait, so what's going on with Jimmy Butler this week?